What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where every fan is welcome. We're ready to kick off our Week 3 power rankings. Number 32, we have the Carolina Panthers. I mean, if you follow football at all during the last 2 weeks, this is not too difficult of a decision. Andy Dalton is going to be starting from here on out, so maybe Andy Dalton can rise the Panthers up a couple spots here and get the Panthers a couple wins. Probably not. This Panthers team is worse than last year. Not very good. They're in number 32. Number 31, New York Giants. I mean, they outplayed the Washington Commanders in that game, man. They did. They played a pretty good game. I thought they played much better than Week 1. Unfortunately, if Graham Gano played, I do think that the Giants would have won this game. I'm not going to assume, not going to say, that he would have 100% made those field goals, but Graham Gano is one of the better field goal kickers in the NFL, and they had him during the game. They would have probably won this game. Unfortunately, they lose. Start the season 0-2, number 31. Number 30, New England Patriots. They had a chance in this one. They were in this one throughout the entire game, but ultimately they couldn't get the job done, so they're down 3 spots. Number 29, Denver Broncos are down 3 spots after a disappointing loss to the blanking Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, the Steelers have a really good defense. The Broncos offense hasn't really shown us too much within the first couple weeks here either. I mean, I do think Bo Nix will eventually get going. He will eventually start to look better and start to improve. It's going to take a couple weeks. It's going to take a little while. Sometimes it takes a little, sometimes guys don't come right into the NFL and play great. Sometimes they take a little while, and I think Bo Nix is going to be that guy in Denver. He's learning. He played 2 really strong defenses the first 2 weeks, but I do think the Broncos will pick it up. But unfortunately, first 2 weeks, 0-2, bad offense. They had an opportunity in Week 1 to win. Unfortunately, a lot of missed opportunities. So Broncos down 3 spots. The Colts down 4 spots. Really, I mean, you can't just look at the score to see how bad this game was for the Colts. Their run defense is basically non-existent. They have no run defense. Defense in general, Anthony Richardson is struggling. Shane Steichen didn't even call a good game. So Colts are down 4 spots. Number 27, Commanders are up 1 spot. Very fortunate that the Giants did not have their field goal kicker, Graham Gano, ruled out the last second, didn't end up playing. Very unfortunate for the Giants, fortunate for the Commanders. Commanders jumped to 1-1, and they move up 1 spot. Jaden Daniels looked okay. I'm not a big fan of how Jaden Daniels just, it seems like he wants to run the ball more than he wants to pass it. That's not too good when you see a young quarterback already showing those signs. I mean, typically, it is what it is. He's young. Maybe he'll get better, but I think that is a habit that's very hard to break. I'm not sure if he will. Number 26, Chicago Bears down 4 spots. I mean, they put up a good game against the Texans, man. They had a chance to go and win it there at the end against one of the better teams in the NFL. Unfortunately, they still have to move down 4 spots because other teams are just moving up. It's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles this week, just kind of the way it went. But, I mean, Caleb Williams had a couple of nice plays. I mean, and the first half, he looked all right. Second half didn't look too good. He looked like he missed a lot of throws and just didn't look as well. He doesn't really have too much of pocket awareness. Doesn't really, have awareness of where pressure is coming from sometimes. Unfortunately, Bears lose. Close game, though. It was a good game. It was a close game. I did enjoy that game. But, they do a really good defense. But the offense has a lot to be desired so far this year. They're down 4 spots to 26. Next up, Titans at 25. I mean, they put up a little bit of a fight against the Jets. It was an all right game, but Will Levis not really looking too good this season so far. He's been a big reason why the Titans are 0-2. I mean, 2 very winnable games. 2 games that they could have won. They could very easily be 2-0 and be a lot higher on this list, but I'm just keeping them put because I don't really think they should have been moved. Just kind of the way the week went, like I said. The Raiders moving up 6 spots. They just outplayed the Ravens, man. They outplayed the Ravens, and if they beat the Chargers week 1, which, they were keeping it in the game there for a little while, they would be much higher. But they're moving up 6 spots, outplaying the Ravens, having a really good week. Are they going to keep it going? I don't think so. I don't think the Raiders are a great football team. I think it's a week 2 early season kind of thing. But you do have to reward them. We do have to look at it as how it's going right now, not a prediction. And the Raiders are going to move up 6 spots after a big win versus the versus the Ravens. Number 23, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Very disappointing loss to the Browns. I mean, it's, week one, they put up a good fight up against the Dolphins, but now the Dolphins aren't even looking good. The Dolphins are looking pretty rough. But Jaguars, yeah, they're moving down 6 spots, 0-2, losing to 2 teams. I mean, we thought they had a chance against the Dolphins week one. They did. We thought, okay, maybe the Jaguars are an all right football team, but now they're losing to the Browns, and the Dolphins don't look good now either. Trevor Lawrence is just missing reads, not seeing the field well, and leaving a lot to be desired. So down 6 spots for them, down a whopping 8 spots for the Rams. I mean, what a disappointing outing. They are really injured, really injured up, but nonetheless, I can't give them a pass. I don't give anyone else a pass for injuries or what else is going on. They are 0-2. You lost to the Lions. You looked really bad in overtime. Now you get beat up really bad by the Cardinals. Speaking of the Cardinals, moving up 8 spots to 21. I mean, they've been explosive. This offense has been explosive. This team has been looking pretty good. Kyler Murray has been looking pretty good. I've been impressed with the Arizona Cardinals the first 2 weeks of the season. They put up a really good fight against the Bills. Only if they were able to finish that game, they would be 2-0 and looking pretty good right now. Unfortunately, they didn't beat the Bills, but they did beat the Rams, and they beat them very convincingly. So they're moving up 8 spots. It seems like a lot, but I feel like that's warranted. I feel like they beat a very good Rams team, even though they were really beat up. They do have a great head coach, great quarterback. They have some really good pieces there. But a lot of the Rams were hurt, and pass rush isn't really there considering Aaron Donald's gone, and they lost a couple of guys last year. But the Cardinals moving up 8 spots, really nice win against the Rams, and I feel like they should just move up over some of these other teams. Really, number 20. Cincinnati Bengals, they're moving down 8. I mean, they put up a really good fight against the Chiefs, man, and but they're 0-2. They're 0-2. At the end of the day, they lost, and and I think they should have won that game. Unfortunately, Patrick Mahomes just clutch, and the Chiefs just Patrick Mahomes and those guys didn't even have their greatest of games, but they still found a way to win. The Bengals found a way to lose, and they lost in week 1 to the Patriots as well. Now, I do think the Bengals will rise back up. I think they will be one of the better teams by the end of the year, but this isn't a prediction. This is a week-by-week power ranking, is a weekly update. So right now, as of week 3, heading into week 3, the Bengals are down 8 spots, number 20. Cleveland Browns, 19. I mean, I was surprised to see them win, considering everything going on, the distractions and all that kind of stuff. But, even their offensive line did not look very good. I think they allowed, an insane amount of pressures, almost 20 pressures, which is insane. But, they found a way to win. It was a close game. It wasn't pretty. They found a way to win, but I just didn't feel the need to move them. I felt like this is a fine spot for them. All right. Moving on to number 18. The Dolphins are down 10. I almost said 18. Dolphins are down 10 spots, man. I mean, week 1, we thought, okay, it's week 1. They found a way to fight back. They, run defense struggled, and, they found a way to win. Okay, so I give them a pass. Week 1 early, you won even though you didn't look your best. Okay, week 2, Thursday Night Football, Buffalo Bills. Even if Tua played this full game or not, this Dolphins team does not look very good right now. The run defense is pretty bad. The offensive line is not very good. And now that Tua is out, that's even a bigger blow. It's just the Dolphins have not looked very good the first 2 weeks. You get beat up. You get pretty much dominated by the Bills in this game. And yeah, Tua did go down, but even if Tua played the entire game, I don't think that was going to make much of a difference. I do think Tua is a very good quarterback, but the offensive line did not help him. Offensive line was crap, and the Bills just played a really good game defensively. All right, 17. Steelers moving up 3. I mean, the Steelers, man, they've looked like they're 2-0. They moved up another 3 spots. I think they started at 24 at the beginning of the year, moved up 4, moved up 3, and they've struggled to put points on the bar. They've struggled on offense, that is for sure, but their defense is just out of this world. It is phenomenal. Did a very good job against the Falcons in week 1, and then week 2 you do a very good job versus the Broncos and a young Bo Nix, who I am very high on. I'm high on this Broncos offense. I'm high on the Broncos run offense and in their rushing game. But the Steelers defense, They locked in, man. They are great. They are awesome. TJ Watt is a monster. And the offense has a little bit to be desired. They got to finish in the red zone. They got to stop kicking too many field goals. I think they have one offensive touchdown in the first 2 weeks. So that's a little concerning, but they're going to need to pick it up on offense on the stretch here if they're going to want to win more games. And I think they could. I think, the more Fields is in this system, I think he's going to look a little bit better. But yeah, I do have the Steelers moving up 3 spots. Not too much. But they're 2-0. They look pretty good. Remember, maybe I should have moved them up to 17, moved the Cowboys down 1 more spot. But I couldn't move the Cowboys down too much, even though they were pretty much dominated by the Saints. They looked horrible. They looked horrendous. Their defensive line got killed. They weren't able to do anything. The Saints offensive line just pummeled them. They ran over them. They pressured Dak all day long, and CeeDee Lamb seems like he's having to carry the offense. Where was Zeke? It was bad. I think Mike McCarthy is going to be on his way out the door pretty soon. So Cowboys moving down 6 spots after a very bad performance versus the Saints. Just couldn't really do anything. Didn't really get anything done at all. So down 6 spots, that's just where they lay with me. Number 15, the Seahawks moving up 1. It was a closer game than I expected, and I do expect this offense and this team not to be as sloppy as the year goes on. But, keeping the Patriots in that game, Patriots do have a good defense, so, they won a low-scoring game. They won. At the end of the day, they won, and they're 2-0, so they're moving up 1 spot. Number 15, Mike McDonald has a defense playing lights out, flying around, playing really well. So they're up 1 spot. Chargers move up 1 spot after a convincing win versus the Panthers. I thought that was a trap game. The Chargers have always been one of those teams going into games where it's like, okay, they should beat this team, but will they? And they did. They beat them very convincingly. They won like they should have. Now I do think there, a couple plays here and there, you could have executed on a little bit better. Could have, had a lot more points here, but it is what it is. They won. They won. What was it? 26-3. Pretty good game. Defense looked good, but then again, can't move them up too much because they played the Panthers. Panthers, the worst team in the NFL, as you see. And if you pay attention to football at all, you would understand why the Chargers are only going up 1 spot. But I do expect Justin Herbert and this Chargers offense to continue to improve as well. Offense has a lot to be desired, but Harbaugh is gonna continue to get this team better. 13, Eagles moved down 2 spots. Disappointing loss, very disappointing loss to the Falcons. Saquon Barkley drops a game-winning catch. A catch that would have ended the game. You have a couple of Jalen Hurts bad plays in there. Hurts has not looked really good. He has struggled quite a bit, and it's an issue. You could tell that the pass game is struggling. The run defense is really bad, and then towards the end there, that defense they just conceded the game. They obviously killed it in a bad way, but defense has not looked good, man. Important situations, big situation, they gave up the game there, and Kirk Cousins went down the field with ease with Drake London, Mooney, and Pitts even too. But yeah, Eagles down 2 spots, not looking too good. I wasn't really high coming, as high as a lot of people with the Eagles, coming into the year, and their run defense does not look good. Their passing defense has not looked great. I do expect the passing defense to get better as the year goes on, but the run defense, that is really concerning. Number 12, Falcons up 5. Really, really nice win against the Eagles, who really did just beat the Packers, and I think the Packers are one of the better teams in the NFL, and they beat the Packers with Jordan Love as well. The Packers are Super Bowl contenders in my eyes when Jordan Love comes back, but the Falcons did a good job against the Eagles. The defense kept them in the game all day long. The run defense, run defense needs to get better as well. That's a common theme early on this year. I think a lot of teams are struggling to stop the run, which is interesting, but Falcons really struggling to stop the run. But at the end of the day, Kirk Cousins had that vintage drive right at the end of the game, and it was prime time. It was prime time, and Kirk Cousins killed it on prime time. He finally kind of got that monkey off his back, even though he's won a couple of times in primetime, but he tends to struggle in primetime. So I almost thinking, maybe I'm going to switch this game. But, without A.J. Brown, that definitely helped him as well. But Falcons looked pretty good. Jesse Bates with the game-sealing interception. Really good game. I almost said moving up 12 spots. I keep trying to use our rank as how much they're moving up. But 5 spots, number 12. Good week by the Falcons. Really impressive win now in a short week. Ravens moving down 6 spots. I'm being very generous. I am being very, very generous to the Ravens right now. They're 0-2. They lost to the Raiders. Probably should have moved down a lot more than this. A lot more. But I'm not too sure if there are any other teams that I should move ahead of the Ravens. It's been a rough first 2 weeks. I'm not predicting here. I'm not I'm in the moment, but the Ravens, if they lose another game, they go 0-3, they're really going to be dropped down a lot more. They're going to be dropped down like maybe 6 or 7 spots more. Because, you lose to the Raiders, you get outplayed by the Raiders. In the first week, you missed a couple opportunities versus the Chiefs. You just haven't, the Ravens are an interesting team right now. We're going to see how they bounce back. I think they will bounce back, and I think they will be one of the better teams in the NFL when it's all said and done, close to the end of the season, coming to playoff time. But right now, they're not looking good. Down to 11, still being very generous, but didn't feel like the Falcons should have moved ahead of them, or the Eagles should be ahead of them, or Chargers, Seahawks, or Cowboys. I don't feel like any of those teams should be ahead of the Ravens, so keeping them there. I keep them there at 11. They better get better, though. The Vikings. Somehow they outplay the Niners, one of the better teams in the NFL. They outplay the Niners. A really good day. Sam Darnold, like, what? Who is this? Is this the same Darnold that we knew that played for the Jets? The Niners, was he a little extra motivated? But the first 2 weeks, man, Vikings had a very convincing win over the Giants, and how they beat the Niners. So, yeah, I am forced to move them up a whopping 14 spots. Aaron Jones, that run game looking good, the defense looking pretty good, and I didn't think the Vikings were that good of a football team. You look on paper, I don't think they're that good of a football team. Now, will they stay like this all season long? I don't think so, and I think it's the similar situation for the Saints. Look, the Saints have been absolutely killing it. Dominated the Cowboys. You dominated the Panthers. You dominated the Panthers week 1. Okay, it's the Panthers. Now you're going to be able to go to Dallas and beat the Cowboys in their home. The Cowboys are dominant in the regular season, especially dominant at home. And fortunately for the Saints, they just absolutely killed them. The Saints offensive line just pummeled that Dallas defensive line, that Dallas defensive line. They had no issues. I ran the ball at will. Derek Carr has looked good. I mean, this Saints team has looked really good, and I think the Saints and the Vikings here, I think these two teams are maybe a lot better than what we expected them to be, but I do think that teams are going to figure them out, and I do think that the Saints and I do think the Vikings are going to, come back down to earth pretty soon. But I do think the Saints and the Vikings are still really good football teams. Obviously, 12 and 14 spots. This is a wild week. Look at how much movement there is this week. Look, there's Rams and Cardinals move down 8. The Jaguars move down 6. The Raiders move up 6. Bengals move down 8. Dolphins down 10. Falcons up 5. Saints and Vikings up 12 and 14. Ravens up down. The Ravens down 6. It's just a wild week 3. And, speaking of wild, the Jets moving up 1 spot. I mean, not really too much wild to say about them, but they did let the Titans have a chance to win this game. They're just very fortunate that Will Levis is not very good. Aaron Rodgers had a nice game. I thought that they ran the ball really well. I mean, that's what they're going to have to do. And they played a really good defense as well. The Titans have a really good defense, a really underrated defense. But so yeah, they put up 24 points. You win 24-17. I thought it was a really good game for the Jets. Packers, number 7, they really dominated the Colts in this game in every facet of the game. They ran all over them. The score just doesn't give it justice. Having Malik Willis play there. Malik Willis looked all right. Now, it was probably a combination of just how bad the Colts defense is, and then, Malik Willis just having one of his better days maybe. But, yeah, Packers, I mean, they dominated the Colts in every way they could. Special teams, in the run game, throwing the football. Malik Willis just completed almost every pass. I mean, Packers just I didn't feel like that they needed to move up, though, because, I mean, they play the Colts. The Colts are a pretty bad football team. Number 6, Niners, down 4. Really disappointing loss to the Vikings. Really get outplayed by Sam Darnold and the Vikings. Really struggled to, beat the Vikings. And, maybe the Vikings are much better than we thought. And, I mean, their run game has been pretty good. I mean, Ty Chandler actually ran on the 49ers pretty well. 10 carries, 82 yards. He had a pretty good game. I mean, Aaron Jones didn't get the ball too much. A little questionable there. But, I mean, Sam Darnold has looked good. And, unfortunately, the Niners were on the wrong end of that. Brock Purdy, I thought he looked all right. Jordan Mason, dude, he has looked incredible the first 2 weeks. What is up with Jordan Mason? But Deebo Samuel, they still have so many weapons, so I do think that the Niners are going to be fine. I think it might just be a matter of early season weird crap happening. But yeah, they lose to the Vikings, they get beat up pretty good, and they're going to move down 4 spots because there's other teams that should be higher than them right now, and one of those teams are the Lions. Even though the Lions played they lost to the Buccaneers as well. They were higher than the Vikings last week, but Lions, you still took a loss there. It was a pretty sloppy game for the Lions. Wasn't too impressed with how they looked, and the Buccaneers really put it on them. The Buccaneers were a little sloppy too, but nonetheless, you taking a loss here this high up, you're gonna move down a couple of spots, and I keep going backwards, but lo and behold, there are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another big mover, 9 spots. I mean, you beat up on the Lions pretty good like that, and then the last week you beat the Washington Commanders. Okay, you beat the Commanders. Can you keep it going? Can Baker Mayfield be clutch again against the Lions? And that he was. I mean, it wasn't a pretty game. It wasn't the prettiest games, but Baker Mayfield was clutch, and this Buccaneers defense looked great. The offenses looked great, and without Antoine Winfield Jr. and having a couple injuries, they still found a way to beat the Lions in a huge way. So I think that this is warranted. 9 spots up to 4. The Buccaneers have looked like one of the better teams in the NFL. Baker Mayfield has been clutch. It is awesome to see Baker Mayfield playing the way he is, and he's playing with the confidence, and he's just matured in such a huge way. So Baker Mayfield leads the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the number 4 spot in my power rankings, man. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills moving up 3 spots. I mean, they had a really good Thursday night game, pretty much dominated that game. And they did exactly what I thought they needed to do in that game. Pressure Tua and, pressure, quarterback or whoever it was. And not let the Dolphins get down the field quick. If you versus the Dolphins, if you could, no matter who's back there, quarterback, if you could force them to have to drive down the field, 12, 13, 14 play drives, they can't do it because their offensive line, and they can't really they could run the football, but not effectively, not efficiently, consistently enough to keep a 12, 13, 14, even 15 play drive going. So you got to force the Dolphins to drive down the field. And if you could do that, you have a good chance to win that game. If you could tackle well, if you could tackle those speedy receivers and the speedy skill position players, then, there shouldn't be too much of an issue beating them, but and then you run on them really well. I mean, they have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. Josh Allen, his offense looked pretty good. Defense did exactly what they needed to do. Good tackling. They move up 3 spots. Pretty good game for the Bills. Texans moved up 1 spot to 2. So the Texans, let me say one thing about the Texans is they've won their first 2 games. They're 2-0. They're explosive. We know they're a very good football team. Nico Collins is incredible. But there's one thing that if I have to pick on with the Texans, it's how close their first 2 games were. I mean, they kept the Colts in the game. The Colts had a chance to win that game late in the game, and then the Bears did as well. And you see both teams, the Bears and the Colts, not good football teams, but the Texans let them hang around. The Texans let them, gave them a chance to win late in the game. Caleb Williams had a chance there. They gave Caleb Williams and the Bears offense a chance to go down and win the football game. They didn't. Texans defense holds up. Very good defense. I like the Texans defense as well, but I will like to see this Texans team close out games a little better, a little stronger, especially against, the Bears and the Colts. So I'm a little concerned with them finishing out games, but I think they will be fine. CJ Stroud will be clutch when he needs to, and this Texans team will be clutch when they need to be. But I would keep an eye on that. They do need to finish games, but by far and away, or maybe not by far and away, the Texans are the best team in the AFC South, and they're all the way up here at 2, man. They very impressive. CJ Stroud, like I said, it's still something to keep in mind. Of how close the games were at the end, but they kind of keep their opponents into the game. But I think the Texans will be fine. They are 2-0. They did win both games. They look very explosive, really dominant at times. So yeah, they move up 1 spot to 2. Number 1. Who knew? Kansas City Chiefs. What else is new? I mean, I can't move them. They found a way to win. It's a sloppy day for them. They didn't look good. Isaiah Pacheco's going to be out for a while. I think Hollywood Brown might be out for this season. And Patrick Mahomes didn't play his greatest game. So it's really... And they still found a way to win. They still found a way to beat... I know the Bengals lost in week 1 to the Patriots, but that doesn't really mean too much. The Bengals are going to be one of the better teams on the stretch here, and they are one of the better teams. And Joe Burrow always seems to find a way to keep it close against the Chiefs or beat them. And unfortunately, they just, the Bengals couldn't do it. They couldn't pull it off. And if the Bengals won that, we might be looking at the Houston Texans being the number 1 team in the NFL here, or the Bills. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't really need to explain the Chiefs too much. You guys know how it goes. But the Kansas City Chiefs, number 1, that's it. Not really anyone who is going to contest with that right now. But yeah, that is going to do it for my power rankings this week, for my NFL Week 3 power rankings. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show. If you enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. And this is the JDW Sports Talk Show, signing off.